All right, so you just finished a run, right? You glance down at your watch, and boom, it's just this tidal wave of numbers. You've got cadence, ground contact time, vertical oscillation, and you're just thinking, what does any of this actually mean? Well, today we're going to cut through all that noise. We're going to decode the data and figure out the story your run is trying to tell you using nothing but the numbers themselves. So here's how we're going to break it all down. First up, we'll cover what running dynamics even is. Then we're going to build this thing from the ground up, starting with the foundation, cadence and ground contact, and working our way up to wasted motion and what I like to call the ultimate efficiency score. We'll even tackle that tricky question of symmetry. And then, the most important part, what do you actually do with all this info?
Okay, let's jump right in. So at its heart, what is running dynamics? The simplest way to think about it is this. It's real-time feedback on your running form. It's your watch basically acting like a translator, turning all your physical movements into cold, hard data. Now, these are the big ones. These are the key metrics that the tiny little motion sensors in your watch or your heart rate pod are spitting out to quantify exactly how you run. We're not going to get lost in the weeds with all of them, though. We're going to zero in on the ones that give you the biggest insights into your efficiency and where you can improve. So let's start with the absolute bedrock of your running form. These two metrics are the foundation for everything else. How quickly your feet turn over, that's your cadence, and how long each foot spends on the ground with every single step. And here is where it gets really interesting. This isn't just guesswork. Garmin is benchmarking these numbers against data from thousands and thousands of other runners. Now, take a look at the purple zone up top. That's the top 5% of runners. Their cadence is over 183 steps per minute, and their ground contact time, we'll just call it GCT, is less than 218 milliseconds. Now, contrast that with the red zone down at the bottom, a cadence under 153 and a GCT over 308 milliseconds. Huge difference. And that right there tells the whole story, doesn't it? The data is crystal clear. More experienced runners take quick, light steps. They're not hanging around on the ground. This combination of a high cadence and a low ground contact time is really the secret sauce to efficient running. Okay, so if cadence and GCT are all about moving forward, this next part is about the energy you're not using to move forward. We're talking about all the energy you spend going up and down. Yep. We're talking about your bounce, or as your watch calls it, vertical oscillation. Just think about it. Every bit of energy you spend bouncing up is energy you can't spend propelling yourself down the road. It's literally wasted effort. Now, a little bit of bounce is totally normal. It even increases with your pace. But the name of the game for efficiency is to keep that number as low as possible. Less bounce means less impact and less wasted energy. So let's look at the numbers again. Those elite runners in the purple zone, they keep their vertical bounce below 6.4 centimeters. Meanwhile, you've got less experienced runners down in the red zone bouncing more than 11.5 centimeters. That's a massive amount of extra up and down motion on every single stride. Now we get to the master metric. This is the one that kind of ties everything together. It's called vertical ratio. And it takes your wasted bounce and your useful forward motion and rolls it all up into one super powerful number that basically represents your running efficiency. The key thing to get here is that it's a ratio. The easiest way to think of it is cost versus benefit. The cost is your vertical oscillation, right? That's the energy you waste going up. The benefit is your stride length. That's the distance you travel forward. You want a low cost for a high benefit. So the lower the final percentage, the more efficient you are. It's that simple. In looking at the numbers, you can see it plain as day. The most efficient runners are consistently in that blue or purple zone, keeping their vertical ratio below 7.4%. What this really means is they're getting a ton of forward propulsion for a very small amount of vertical bounce. They just aren't wasting energy. And this is where this metric becomes such an incredible tool. It's not just a snapshot. You can watch it as a trend. Think about it. You're deep into a long run, you're getting tired, and your form starts to get sloppy. You get a little bouncier, your stride shortens up. Well, you will literally see your vertical ratios start to creep higher and higher. It's your watch telling you in real time that your efficiency is tanking. So far, we've pretty much only talked about forward efficiency. But now, let's get into another critical piece of the puzzle, balance. Now, this chart is absolutely fascinating because it shows that having perfect 50-50 symmetry is actually not the norm.
Based on Garmin's data, only about 40% of runners fall into that good, nearly symmetrical zone. A full 50% of us have a fair imbalance, and another 10% have a poor imbalance. So yeah, most of us are a little bit lopsided. So who cares if you're off by a few percentage points, right? Well, it turns out it has a real, measurable cost. Research on this found that for every single 1% your ground contact time is off from that perfect 50-50 split, your metabolic cost, that's the energy you burn to run, can go up by about 3.7%. That's a direct hit to your fuel economy. But, and I need you to listen to this, because it's the single most important thing to know about symmetry, this data is an indicator, not an instruction manual. The source material is crystal clear. Do not try to force a 50-50 balance by consciously changing how you run. That is a one-way ticket to a new injury. Okay, so you have all this data. The big question is, now what? What are you supposed to do with it? Well, this final section is all about that. It's a clear, actionable plan to turn these numbers into smarter training. So here's the 5-step plan. Step 1, establish your own baselines. You got to know what your numbers look like on easy days, hard days, all of it. Step 2, prioritize. Don't try to fix everything at once. Focus on the big wins first, like cadence and vertical oscillation. Step 3, use that imbalanced data to guide your strength work. Off the road, not while you're running. Step 4, treat that vertical ratio like a fatigue gauge on your long runs. And finally, step 5, remember that all this data analysis is just one piece of the puzzle. It has to go hand in hand with strength and mobility work. You see, at the end of the day, your watch is just giving you the raw material to understand the story of your run. It's showing you where you're efficient and where your form might be breaking down. The real question isn't just what the data says. The question is, now that you can read the story, how are you going to use it to write the next one?